So today we're looking into the Gearbox Pro Ultimate Hyper paddle. I've used this paddle for over 2 months, so I'll give you my review on how it has lasted since then. Now we do have the Pro Ultimate here, and as you can see side by side, it is more of a square shaped paddle, so you're gonna get the benefits of a larger sweet spot, but you're also having less surface area. If you're someone who does like elongated paddles, standardized shaped paddles, then still consider changing to the Gearbox Hyper because of all of its pros. Now, when we talk about the strengths of this paddle, we are going to be talking about the power, pop, and control. Keep it simple for you guys, just so you know all the large categories. One thing to note with this paddle is that all these new gearboxes have an extremely good feeling face and that there's minimal to no vibration feeling. If you are someone that does like vibration feelings in your hand and you like feeling the ball, these paddles might not be for you. Now, I am basing my interpretations on paddles I've used in the past. So I've used the Gearbox Power, Gearbox Ultimate, some of the Yolas, Rubies, paddles like that. So I haven't used any of the newer power paddles, so take that into note when I'm talking about this paddle. So first up, when compared to the Ultimate paddle, which one is better? Now, I do think that the Hyper overall is just better than the Ultimate for one huge reason. The core crushing on this paddle is just not as apparent as the Ultimate paddles. They use the same exact internal structure, but it's just a square shape. So I think that contributes in the fact of it's more compressed in a way, so it's not gonna core crush as often. I've used a couple Ultimates already. I've had ones that core crush in 2 weeks and some that are lasting a bit longer, but I've only had one Hyper and it seemed to last well. Now, in terms of the power, I do think you're still gonna get really high quality power from this paddle, more than enough. Now, you're not gonna get the top feeling powers as the 611-24 paddles or other paddles in that category. The Gearbox Power, for example, is still way more powerful feeling than this paddle, but you're not gonna necessarily have a problem when you're ripping through drives. Power is not too much of an issue with this paddle. Now for pop, I think pop is just my favorite aspect of the Gearbox paddles. The pop is super good. You don't have to really swing through balls as much, but if you're transitioning from a Gen 2 paddle, let's say, or other paddles that aren't as poppy or stable feeling, this might take some time getting used to because, I mean, you're almost putting your paddle there and it's flying right off, right into the kitchen on a lot of resets. So you're not trying as hard with this paddle. Now for the control, especially dinking at the kitchen, blocking shots at the kitchen, I think that that's actually the weakest part about this paddle. I find my dinking more inconsistent, and that's largely due to the amount of pop and power that these paddles generate. You can't find yourself getting too much spin, taking advantage of a grid of a paddle, for example, and you're not gonna see more dipping on your balls. You're gonna see a lot more flat shots. I think this is a huge detriment to, especially when you're holding at the kitchen, holding people back at the baseline. These are much more flat shots, shots that are coming below the net. You're not gonna have as much spin on it. It's not gonna drop in. So you're going to have to take back the power to a certain extent. But besides those points, the Hyper is really still a stable paddle. I think it is better than the Ultimate Elongated, the Power, pretty much any paddle that's come in the past. I think they definitely hit it out of the park with this one specifically. So I think the biggest point about getting a paddle like this is the climate of paddles in general in this market. A lot of paddles are core crushing. You have the Protons core crushing, you have the Yolas core crushing, and you really want to get a paddle that can maximize all of its attributes like all of these paddles have been coming out lately, but that doesn't core crush as often. Now this paddle does have a break-in period. It does feel a little looser, but not to an extent of all these other paddles that are core crushing. So with all that being said, I like to keep these videos pretty short, let you know the main points into ultimately buying a paddle. Now, who should buy this paddle? If you are looking for a square shaped paddle, you are looking for a modern, updated pickleball paddle, this should be the paddle that you're trying to get. Now, who knows what that would look like when the new Yola Pros come out with the Scorpius models, then you might be able to consider one of those. But if you fall into the category of all the pros that I've said and you don't really worry about control at the kitchen, then this should be a paddle that you can just pick up and start playing well with. So if you found that being informative, make sure to drop a sub. We drop a ton more review videos like this one on the channel, as well as tip videos of how to use these paddles and get better on the court. Thanks for watching.